newsflash, the horror genre does not belong to me, and it doesn't belong to you either. It belongs to a larger community, one that has existed long before I was born and will exist long after all of us are gone. So we all have opinions, and while opinions can't be wrong, perspectives need to be inclusive. We'll get back to why that word is a loaded word in a moment. But here's the thing. There's always someone who wants to shoot down everyone else's opinion and declare that what they believe to be the best movie or the worst film must be so. Those with unpopular opinions sometimes are marginalized, and that's not just wrong, it's counterproductive. Horror has always been an outsider's field. It's always been the province of those who saw things differently, those who were picked last for dodgeball. If we allow a new mob mentality to take over, and there to be a structured, organized way of thinking about the genre, we'll have lost exactly that thing that brought us together to begin with. And honestly, this is a form of storytelling that explores mortality and morality, issues that most people don't want to think too deeply about because they may be complicit in one or not necessarily sympathetic enough to the other. It's a field that is always going to draw those who are willing to look into the abyss, if even just slightly, to see what they can learn. So why would we ever form cliques within the horror community? Well, we're people, and there's always safety in numbers, and when other people validate what you believe, it feels good. But it's not helpful for the genre. The genre thrives when there is a democracy of opinion, when different people believing different things and bringing different ideas to the table from different viewpoints. That's always when it's strongest, and that's true of other genres as well, but the horror genre is specific because it is such an exaggerated, vibrant form of entertainment. You can't find two horror fans that feel exactly the same way about any film. Debates will rage about what do you like more, the original Alien or its sequel. Or, if you're really bold, the sequel after that. But there are no right answers, and there is no wrong answers. And while you can definitely say that certain films have technical problems or problems with the plot or the writing, that doesn't necessarily mean you don't enjoy those films. And if someone absolutely loves a film that you detest, the proper answer is not to tell them they're wrong about their opinion or try and dissuade them from their enjoyment. It's to celebrate the fact that they're getting enjoyment from something that you don't. Because every time something is successful in the genre, even if you detest it, that means we get more product. So anything that causes more people to come to the genre and be more passionate is a good thing. Now, I'm well known for having certain films that everyone else seems to love that I really don't like. That doesn't mean I don't want those films to no longer exist or no longer count. One of the most destructive trends I've seen in recent years is the idea of making sequels that ignore existing installments. You know what? That installment you want to jump over is someone's favorite. And why would we insult that person? Can't we just write another good film that either takes that film into account or ignores it in such a way that's not destructive to it? We have enough challenges with the stigma placed on the genre by people who don't enjoy it, whether they be the religious extremists or just the moral crusaders or just film snobs. We don't need to be picking at each other's scabs. The truth is, the horror genre is always going to be marginalized. We're never going to overcome the biggest hurdle into respectability, and maybe we shouldn't, because some of our greatest pieces of art inside the genre will never be respected by people with cautious tastes. But that doesn't mean we should take up their reins in attacking each other. And while we're on the subject, we shouldn't attack other genres either. A debate has long raged that goes something like this. Why is it okay to show someone die violently on film, but it's not okay to show two people make love? That argument ignores the basic fact that this is entertainment. This is not reality we're watching. And there's nothing wrong with either of those things. When one person is attacking another person's form of entertainment, the only one that wins is the censors. So let's not play their game. Ever. Horror needs to stand because no one will stand for it. The fans need to stand up for each other and stop marginalizing and stop attacking each other's viewpoints because we don't have anyone who's going to ride in to save the day on our behalf. We have to be our own knights. Now recently, there's been a lot of films that have tried to bring heavy messages into the genre. We should support them in their desire to tell stories their way. But that doesn't mean we need to be preached at, because that is, by its nature, divisive. We should celebrate that we have the freedom to make those films, even as we positively, constructively, but critically call them out for their bad writing, their overstepping, and their moralizing. Because moralizing is what gets us into the trouble in the first place. What's true for one person as a personal belief is not necessarily true for another. And while I think that I could be sympathetic to most of the ideas presented in the movies that we're talking about, such as, say, the Black Christmas remake or the upcoming Run, Sweetheart, Run, that doesn't mean I want the ideas to be presented in a way that is less than entertaining and more educational. To give you an idea where this all could end up, look at the Western. The simple cowboy and Indian Western is so out of vogue that you couldn't really make one today. You can't present Indians, Native Americans, as just tribal barbarians. And perhaps we shouldn't, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that the films that did this in the 50s and 60s to great popularity were morally correct. However, when you start calling them out as inappropriate and things that should not exist, you ignore all the artistry that went into making the films. In the horror genre, in the 1920s, 30s, and 40s, the depiction of African Americans in horror films was atrocious. They were often relegated to scaredy cat butlers, or worse, voodoo shaman native people who would follow the beck and command of the evil but powerful white man. None of those films are morally correct, and we understand that coming, 60 to 80 years later. But that doesn't mean we should ignore the films. Likewise, in literature, H.P. Lovecraft was definitely a racist, but he was also one of the most talented horror fantasists ever. To lose his entire body of work just because some of his ideas, even those that crept into his work, it's a losing proposition for the genre and for us as fans. The key is we have to step out of ourselves and our daily lives and our personal morality when we step into entertainment, especially in a genre like horror. And we have to do this because we can never really explore morality and mortality if we only want to do so from a comfortable position. Mortality and morality are not comfortable subjects. They never will be, and they shouldn't be. And if we make some mistakes and offend some people along the line, and if in 50 to 80 years people look back at us like we are absolute troglodytes, that's the price we'll pay to struggle forward. That's not a sin. And we need to support each other, whether we like the films or not. Whether it's a film with great ideas or horrible ideas. Whether it's a film with no ideas. We need to stand up for each other and support each other as horror fans. It's a hard time in America and around the world right now. We're all cloistered in our houses, wondering when we're going to be able to enjoy not just daylight outside our roofs, but each other's company as well. We should keep in mind in the coming days that as we watch our movies in our living rooms, looking out the window and hoping we could someday get out there, that we want to have a community to go into. A community where we finally feel like we do have friends. Maybe even friends we haven't met yet. If you walk through a horror convention, you feel oddly at ease. You're with your people. Let's not fight among our people about our best projects and our worst projects and our favorite films and whether people like to stream or buy physical media. Let's celebrate each other. That doesn't mean we lose our opinions. It doesn't mean one person's opinion was more valid than the other. That's exactly the opposite of what I'm saying. But please, at this time when we are so isolated from one another, let's take a moment to realize that this 100-plus year experiment in horror films has brought us to a better place in our lives. And every seat that has been filled in every auditorium, every couch, every DVD player tray that's been filled with a movie has brought us to this point whereas we can take this moment and celebrate. Because I can think of no way I would rather explore this world than with a good shiver. And with all of you.